Well, here we are, exactly 1 year into this journey, and me sitting at a bit of a crossroads. I wanted to do a video post today because I really want to be able to communicate fully. Though I'm trying to keep improving as a writer, there's always something that's lost when you remove the nonverbal communications. So this is one of those times when I want you to be able to see what I'm thinking and feeling in all my scraggly bearded glory. Don't worry, as soon as it gets like 70 degrees, this is coming off. If you can't stand looking at me, I will put an approximate transcript below. It's okay if you can't, I get that a lot. So in 2010, when LeBron James was announcing the decision of which NBA team he was going to play for next, he took out a one hour special in prime time, and though I may lack his fame, I could argue that this decision is at least fractionally as important. So welcome, dear viewer, to my decision. I won't make you wait too long, but I do want to begin with just giving my most sincere thanks to all of you who have weighed in as I've been contemplating what to do next. From my blog to ADV Writer to Facebook to just random people that I've met. So many of you who have offered your 2 cents that I think if I were to add it all up, I'd be about 1/10 of a way towards affording a campsite in Connecticut. And as you know, that is no small amount. I'd also really like to single out my parents for their incredible support during this time. There's perhaps no one else on the planet as eager to see me back home safely as they are, though Grandma's probably ranks up there pretty high too. Even still, they've been able to discuss this decision with me rationally and with understanding of just how important this trip is to me. Instead of shouting, "Come home and come home now," they've discussed the pros and cons of both options with me thoughtfully and lovingly. So although I've been around them my whole life, they continue to surprise and inspire me. So thank you so much, Mom and Dad. I love you so very much. So let's get right to it. Of course, this is not a final decision, but this is what I'm thinking at the moment. As of now, I think it is fairly unlikely that I'm going to be shipping back home from the east coast of South America. Likewise, I also think it's quite rare at this point that I'm going to be riding back all the way through Central America. So at this point, I just kind of feel like some sort of compromise is the best way to proceed. Riding back to Lima or Bogota and shipping back from there just kind of seems to make the most sense to me at this point. So with that said, let me offer a huge disclaimer. This is all subject to change. As I was writing that long list of pros and cons about a couple weeks ago now, I was unaware that there was a big truckers' strike that was just beginning in Brazil. So it got pretty bad. I mean, there was no fuel at stations, the shelves at supermarkets were empty, people didn't have medicine. I mean, it wasn't Venezuela crazy, but things were pretty bad there. At this moment, it seems like that's kind of resolved, but I'm still keeping a close eye on the situation there. All that is just basically to say I know how quick things can change, and there still exists the possibility that this decision might be made for me at some point further down the line. So the question of how I came to this decision should probably be answered, especially since the overwhelming consensus of advice that I got from people was that I should just fly home and be done with this crazy chapter of the journey. I don't know if I can fully explain how I got to the decision, but I'll do my best. I guess, I thought about it, I prayed about it, I listened and I read thoughtfully each piece of advice that was given to me. But then ultimately I asked myself, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And right now what I feel like doing is hopping on that dirty old bike and riding across the rainforest. So that's the plan at this point. Part of me feels like I should maybe apologize for neglecting the advice of so many people, especially so many people whom I respect. But this trip is my baby, and I'm going to raise it in the best way that I see fit. As many of you noted, visiting Salvador, Brazil will be the last song place in Latin America, so why linger any longer? I think I've been fairly transparent from the start that this trip isn't just about crossing 92 places off of my ridiculous sign on the back of my ridiculous trunk. Though that is my quest, it is not my purpose. I'll say that one more time because I think that's really important. Though that is my quest, it is not my purpose. From the beginning, I knew that it would be a mistake to focus too rigidly on going just from song place to song place as quickly as possible. Being open to other adventures and other experiences is what has made this adventure so wonderful up to this point. I do not feel like now is the time to abandon that philosophy. I'm in a unique situation to experience a part of the world that I may never get a chance to experience again, and I don't feel like passing that up. So let's talk about what this means functionally. From where I sit right now in Cordoba, Argentina, I have about 5,000 miles left to finish this Latin American chapter. So from here I'll be down to Buenos Aires, over to La Paloma, Uruguay, back into Argentina to El Dorado in Misiones province, visit Falls of Iguazu in Brazil, over to the East Coast to Rio and Sao Paulo, Diamantina, Song Place is close to there, and then all the way up to Salvador. So that represents about 5,000 more miles remaining. And if from Salvador I do ride all the way back, say to Bogota, Salvador to Bogota represents about 5,000 miles as well. I don't think that's too significant, especially since if I want to ship back from the East Coast, I'd probably be finding myself riding at least 1,000 or 2,000 miles to either get back to Sao Paulo or to get down to Buenos Aires once again to ship from there. So even though riding through South America definitely does add some mileage, it's maybe not as significant as it would first appear. Right now, as far as Central America goes, the situation in Nicaragua continues to get worse rather than better, sadly. And at this point, I really don't think it would be wise to risk riding through there again. So unless things really improve significantly over the next month or so, I don't have any intention of going back through Central America a second time. So that's what I'm currently thinking. I hope all of you aren't too disappointed with me. And as I mentioned in the title, today is actually a very, very special day. Today, D-Day, is the 1-year anniversary of the beginning of my 8 to 10 month trip. Things just don't always go like you plan, do they? In some ways, that day of departure seems like it was just yesterday. In other ways, it feels like a whole lifetime ago. And you know, looking at pictures of me back then, I almost don't even recognize that person. So to all of you who have been following me from the beginning, I'd like to just say with all the sincerity that I can muster, get a life. The story is not that good. There's so many better things you could spend your time on. Seriously though, all the support really has meant the world to me. So I hope I make that clear in my day-to-day writings too. So as I've contemplated this anniversary, I played a little game with myself. You know, when you're riding around, you have a lot of time to think, and so I kind of did this thought experiment with myself, where I asked the question, if you could go back 1 year in time and tell yourself just 2 words, what would those 2 words be? And so as I've been thinking about that the last couple weeks, I think I've come up with some pretty good options. One good possibility would be 16 months. That would let me know that I had grossly underestimated the time that this journey would take, and maybe help me budget a little bit more to be able to completing a trip that took that long. Another good option could be fuel umbabaca, which might have convinced me to take some extra gas with me as I went up to that remote location in Ontario. That might have allowed me to explore a little bit more and find the cemetery up there, which I really wish I would have been able to do. Another option, how about less bubble bath, which could have kept me from almost drowning in that fateful bathtub in Sarasota, Florida. A good option would be skip Palenque. That would have kept me off that road where I crashed and where I had those other dangerous things happen too. That one probably should be up there. Finally, how about Fly Darien? That would have let me know, don't put Annie in a container. It's not going to turn out well. Just put her on a plane, pay the extra money, and get done with it. So all those are good options, and if any of you would have any thoughts on that too, what 2 words you would tell me at the beginning of my trip, I'd be very interested to hear those as well. But ultimately, I think really if I could go back in time and tell myself 2 words on that departure day, I think I'd just look myself in the eye, smile, and just say, buckle up. Because there's no way I could expect what was going to come, and honestly at this point I don't know if there's really anything between the good and the bad that I would change about this journey. So as usual, I've gotten a little long-winded here, but I guess I'll just close again by saying how grateful I am for all of you who have supported me through this journey. It really does mean the world to me. So I guess the only thing left to say is Annie, get ready to roll. Sonic, get those shoes laced up, because everywhere is calling and somebody's got to answer the phone. So stay buckled up, everybody.